The boxing community is giddy with excitement for a rematch that has been building since Gervonta, Tank Davis and Lamont Roach's contentious first fight on March 27, 2025. With arguments blazing about the result, the officiating, and the implications for both competitors going forward, the first fight left fans and commentators split. The stakes are now extremely high, as a rematch is rumored to be scheduled for June 21st in Las Vegas. Nobody anticipates this fight going to the judges, and both sides are locked in, and the atmosphere indicates it won't be a rerun of the first bout's uncertainty. Let's go back to that initial altercation. The conflict raised more questions than it did answers. The underdog, Roach, came out strong and forced Davis to go in a new direction. For many, it was a revelation rather than merely a competitive fight. The three-division world champion Davis, who exuded an air of invincibility, didn't appear to be as unbeatable as his record indicated. Roach attracted attention with his mobility, counterpunching, and unwavering fortitude. He took Davis's best strokes, continued to advance, and made the champion appear uncomfortable at several points. Opinions were divided by the last bell. Some believed Roach had done enough to overthrow the king, while others gave it a tie, as the judges did. The scorecards weren't the end of the debate. When Davis took a knee during the battle, it was a turning point. Former champion Tim Bradley and other critics claimed that Davis was hit, went down, and then attempted to claim that there was something in his eye, calling it a blatant knockout. After seeing the battle again, Bradley was sure that in boxing, you don't get to call your own timeout. If there was anything wrong with Davis, it was his braids, his perspiration, or something else entirely. The ruling became a lightning rod for Roach's camp because referee Steve Willis failed to take decisive action. They asserted that Willis ignored other dubious behaviors, such as helping Davis in the corner, and instead allowed him more time to heal. On the It Is What It Is podcast, Roach expressed his annoyance. He refrained from accusing Davis of cheating but maintained that the champion profited from lax officiating. Roach remarked, "You can't do none of that. That disqualifies you." Instead of merely whining, Roach and his group took action. Citing the knee incident and other alleged violations, they petitioned the New York State Athletic Commission to reverse the outcome. Roach was forced to turn his attention to a rematch as the request was quickly turned down. He recently declared, "I'm signed and sealed," indicating that he is prepared to run it back. Davis, on the other hand, has been more reserved in the press but hasn't wavered in his resolve. Rumor has it that he has taken the criticism personally, according to Calvin Ford, his trainer. Ford remarked, "He is aware of what people are saying. He isn't playing around this time because of this. There are no outside noises or diversions. His purpose in coming is to make a statement." In a recent statement, Davis reiterated his intention. He said, "I'm not going to let this one go to the judges. I'm ending the show this time." After giving the first bout some thought, he acknowledged that he could have done more. "That was definitely my fault," he remarked. "I should have picked it up, but I didn't." Although he admitted that Roach had a solid shot and got him, he insisted that he was not in any actual danger. "I thought, damn, this guy's slow, while I was sitting in there with him. I could have completed it." The WBA has made it clear that this rematch is required. If Davis doesn't fight Roach again, he will lose his belt. Tank has stated that he is not avoiding this, belt or no belt. He promises to terminate it early in the sequel and considers Roach fortunate to have survived the first 12 rounds. However, Roach thinks he has figured out the secret. He claims he revealed weaknesses in the champion's game and felt Davis's power, describing it as respectable but not overwhelming. "I thought, oh yeah, it's time to roll, after I took his best shot," Roach remarked. Even though the judges didn't think so, he is certain that his discipline and flexibility during the bout gave him the advantage. Gary Jonas, his promoter, stated that the rematch is almost set and that the only thing preventing it is paperwork. With the animosity still seething, this bout is sure to be a spectacle when it takes place in Las Vegas. There have been some side dramas during the build-up. Never one to back down from a confrontation, Terence Crawford has verbally attacked Davis. He even offered that Tank take on Shakur Stevenson on the undercard of his fight with Canelo Alvarez on September 13th after claiming Roach was robbed in the first fight. Positioning Davis as a supporting act instead of the star is a daring choice. Crawford is skilled at creating awareness by linking Tank's name to his own. However, it's a dangerous move. Tank's bouts alone generate pay-per-view purchases and sell out arenas. Other than his fight against Errol Spence Jr., Crawford's PPV record has been less stellar. Given that Tank is stepping up to take on Canelo in a bout that might not draw as much as he had hoped, some see this as Crawford attempting to capitalize on Tank's star power. As was to be expected, Davis was not pleased with the proposal. Tank shot back, rejecting the idea of playing second fiddle or becoming a catchweight. Tell him to come up to 154. The rivalry between these two has long existed. Despite Tank's history of knockouts, Crawford had previously pushed Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis as the top lightweights. Even with his pound-for-pound skill, Crawford hasn't been able to match Davis's global fanbase, which he has amassed at 31-0 with 28 KOs. Although a Tank-Crawford bout would be a huge event, it is now unlikely due to weight classifications and egos. Regarding the rematch, there are differing views throughout the boxing fraternity. According to Rolando Romero, who spoke to The Ring, Davis will adapt and win handily. While describing Roach's performance in the first fight as shocking, he contended that Tank's heritage as a generational talent would be evident. The rematch must take place, Romero declared. There were far too many unanswered questions. However, he criticized the commission's treatment of the knee incident, saying that if it is not addressed, it sets a poor precedent. He went on to say, "Rules are rules. The champion will recover," according to Ryan Garcia, who has faced Davis himself. Davis underestimated Roach the last time, but he won't do it again, he told ES News. Garcia's backing may be self-serving. A more powerful Davis lessens the impact of his own defeat, but he has his own bouts to think about, including as a matchup with Romero in May and a possible Haney rematch in the future. Not everyone is convinced that Davis will turn it around. After rescoring the first bout, Tim Bradley now believes that the Roach won 7-5 or perhaps 8-4. He claimed Davis wasn't active enough to merit the draw and commended Roach's work ethic. "I don't mean to offend Tank," Bradley stated. "He was simply outworked by Roach." On his Porter Way podcast, Sean Porter justified the draw while acknowledging that Roach put up a fantastic fight. He cited Roach's acquaintance with Davis and their amateur background as important contributing elements. "Everything changes when you know a guy's rhythm, speed, and thinking," Porter stated. He thought the draw was fair considering the close rounds, but he wouldn't have contested a Roach victory. A larger discussion concerning Tank's career trajectory has been triggered by the Roach-Davis saga. Critics contend that up until Roach appeared, he had been shielded and faced opponents who played to his advantages. They interpret the first bout as evidence that he is not as unbeatable as he claims to be. Roach used his might, exerted pressure, and refused to back down. If Roach couldn't be defeated by Davis's most powerful weapon, what would happen to him when he faced stronger, more experienced opponents? In response, supporters say it was just a bad night. A convincing victory in the rematch might put an end to the skeptics and solidify his place as the best dog. But his legacy could change if he struggles again or loses. Roach isn't going to back down. He is advocating for a neutral referee because he believes that impartial officiating will highlight his abilities. He has stated, "I beat him once, and I'll do it again." In contrast, Davis is fully committed to a knockout. He vowed, "I'm ending this early. Observe me." The boxing community will also be watching. June 21st is far too soon. Both fighters' futures could be determined by this rematch, which puts their egos, belts, and reputations on the line. Will Roach demonstrate that the first battle wasn't an anomaly, or will Tank regain his supremacy? The story will be told by The Ring.